My sister made me break the heart of the only person who ever loved me, then gave me a script for his public humiliation. When I told her I couldn't do it, that I wouldn't destroy him just to make her feel powerful, she stared at me and said, "You don't get to quit being mine just because you caught feelings." I didn't say a word. That was 4 months ago. Yesterday, she was sitting alone in our childhood bedroom, staring at that photo of herself crying, like she forgot I ever saw it. What's the worst thing your sibling made you do? My sister forced me to spy on her friends and ruin their lives because if I didn't, she'd sick our abusive parents on me. It started when Luna's friend Oliver stopped texting her back. She cornered me in my room, tears streaming down her face. "I need to know why he's ignoring me," she begged. "Just talk to him at school tomorrow, please." I felt bad for her and agreed. Oliver opened up to me immediately, admitting he was avoiding Luna because his girlfriend didn't like her. When I reported back, Luna's tears dried instantly. "Good," she said coldly. "Now I know exactly how to hurt him." That's when I learned my sister's tears were just another manipulation tool. She made me get close to Oliver, then had me tell him fake rumors about his new girlfriend cheating. Within a week, they'd broken up and Oliver was miserable. Luna watched his suffering with satisfaction. "You did that," she said proudly. "You have a gift." When I said I felt guilty, her face darkened. "After everything I've done for you, I've protected you from bullies, covered for you with mom and dad. This is how you repay me?" The guilt worked because Luna had protected me, taken beatings meant for me when dad was hammered. So I became her personal relationship destroyer because I felt like I owed her. She'd point out targets and I'd befriend them, gather intelligence, then execute whatever plan she devised. Ethan liked a girl Luna wanted. I convinced him she was using him for money. Luna's ex moved on too quickly. I seduced him just to publicly dump him. Each time I tried to stop, Luna reminded me of every sacrifice she'd made, every time she'd saved me from our parents' rage, and how easily she could stop protecting me. And the truth was, Luna's friends were such garbage people that I could only feel so bad about what I was doing. By the time I was 16, I was dating someone new every month on Luna's orders. She taught me exactly what to say, how to act, which vulnerabilities to exploit. When guilt got the better of me and I tried refusing once, Luna told our parents I'd been sneaking out at night. The beating I got left me unable to walk for 3 days. "I tried to protect you," Luna said afterward, nursing my wounds. "But if you won't help me, I can't help you." But then Ryan transferred to our school. Luna had a huge crush on him at summer camp 2 years earlier, and he'd rejected her after one kiss, saying he wasn't feeling it. She'd never gotten over the humiliation. "I need you to destroy him," she said. "Make him fall completely in love with you, then rip his heart out. I want him to know how rejection feels." She planned every detail, what to wear, what to like, how to laugh at his jokes. But Ryan was different from the others. He was genuinely kind, funny without trying, interested in who I really was beneath the act. For the first time, I wasn't pretending to enjoy someone's company. Luna noticed immediately. "You actually like him," she accused after watching us together. "Perfect. It'll make the heartbreak more believable when you destroy him." I tried to argue, but she cut me off. "Remember when dad was going to break your legs because you scratched his car? Who took that beating instead? Me. You owe me this." As weeks passed, I fell harder for Ryan while Luna's demands grew crueler. She wanted me to sleep with him just to call him pathetic afterward. She wanted me to convince him to buy expensive gifts, then laugh about how easy he was to manipulate. She wanted photos of him vulnerable to spread around school. Each demand made me sicker, but she held my entire life hostage. Without her protection from our parents, I'd be dead. Then Ryan told me he loved me. We were in his car after a movie, and he said it so simply, so honestly. I started crying because no one had ever said that to me before, not even Luna, and I realized I loved him too, but knew I was going to destroy him. He held me while I sobbed, thinking they were happy tears. When I got home, I told Luna I couldn't go through with it, that there was nothing she could threaten me with that would make me hurt Ryan. She didn't even blink, just opened her laptop and said, "I knew this would happen someday." And then she showed me a folder on her desktop. She'd recorded every conversation we'd had about Ryan for months, every cruel plan, every manipulation tactic, every time I'd laughed about something he'd done, but she edited it perfectly to remove her voice, so it was just me describing how to destroy someone and laughing about his vulnerabilities. She said, "If you don't end things with him tomorrow exactly how I say, I'm sending this to him. He'll know exactly what you are." She wanted a video of me telling him he was pathetic, that I'd used him for fun, that I wanted to puke every time he kissed me. She wanted me to do it publicly, at school, where everyone could witness his humiliation. I sat in my room that night, knowing I was trapped. If I hurt Ryan how Luna demanded, I'd lose him forever, but at least he'd hate me instead of knowing he'd been targeted. If I refused, Luna would send him evidence that would destroy him worse, knowing the girl he loved had been documenting his every vulnerability for months. Either way, I was going to destroy the only person who'd ever really seen me. I had 12 hours to choose between 2 different ways of destroying someone I loved, while the sister who'd turned me into a weapon waited eagerly to watch me pull the trigger. Full story on the channel below. I stared at my phone screen, watching the seconds tick by. 11:47 p.m. Luna had given me until tomorrow, but sleep was impossible. My hands shook as I scrolled through our text messages with Ryan, each sweet word now feeling like evidence of my betrayal. Luna knocked on my door around midnight. She didn't wait for permission to enter, just walked in and sat on my bed like we were having a normal sister chat. She wore her silk pajamas, hair perfectly styled even at this hour. Everything about her was calculated, controlled. She pulled out her phone and showed me the script she'd written for tomorrow. Every cruel word I was supposed to say, the exact spot in the cafeteria where I should stand for maximum visibility, even suggested facial expressions. She'd thought of everything. I tried one more time to reason with her. I offered to do anything else, to sabotage 10 other relationships if she'd just leave Ryan alone. She laughed, actually laughed, and reminded me this wasn't about quantity. This was about Ryan specifically, about making him pay for rejecting her 2 years ago. She left my room, but not before reminding me that dad would be home from his business trip tomorrow afternoon. If I didn't follow through, she'd tell him about the money I'd taken from his wallet last month for lunch when I'd forgotten mine. $20 might not seem like much, but we both knew what dad would do over $20. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat at my desk writing and deleting text to Ryan, trying to find words that might soften what was coming. But Luna had thought of that too. She'd installed tracking software on my phone months ago, could see every message I sent. If I warned him, she'd release the recordings immediately. Morning came too fast. I threw up twice before school, my body physically rejecting what I had to do. Mom asked if I was sick, but I couldn't stay home. Luna would just make things worse, drag it out longer, add more cruelty to punish my resistance. Ryan met me at my locker like always, bringing me a coffee he'd picked up on the way. He knew exactly how I liked it. 2 sugars, oat milk, extra hot. Such a small thing, but it made everything worse. He noticed I looked tired and pulled me into a hug, whispering that everything would be okay. Luna watched from across the hall, tapping her phone screen meaningfully. The recordings, the evidence, the power she held over both of us. First period dragged by. I couldn't focus on anything the teacher said, just kept running through Luna's script in my head. Second period was worse because Ryan sat next to me in that class. He kept trying to make me smile, drawing little cartoons in the margins of my notebook, completely unaware that in 2 hours I was going to destroy him. During third period, I excused myself to throw up again. Luna followed me to the bathroom, checking that I hadn't lost my nerve. She fixed my makeup afterward, made sure I looked perfect for the performance. She wanted me beautiful while I was being cruel, said it would hurt more that way. The cafeteria filled up quickly at lunch. Luna had calculated the timing perfectly, waiting until peak capacity for maximum witnesses. She positioned herself at a table with a clear view, surrounded by her friends who had no idea what they were about to watch. Ryan was already at our usual spot, had saved my seat and gotten my favorite lunch. He smiled when he saw me walking over, that genuine smile that reached his eyes. I felt my resolve cracking, but Luna held up her phone from across the room. One button. That's all it would take. I didn't sit down. That was the first sign something was wrong, and Ryan picked up on it immediately. He asked if I was okay, started to stand up, reached for my hand. I pulled away. The first cruel act in Luna's carefully orchestrated play. The words felt like glass in my throat. I told him I was done, that this whole thing had been a joke. His face changed, confusion replacing the warmth. He asked what I meant, tried to take my hand again. More people were noticing now, conversations dying as they sensed drama unfolding. I forced myself to continue, each word from Luna's script burning my tongue. I said he was boring, clingy, that dating him had been a dare from friends. The lies came out stilted, rehearsed, nothing like my normal voice, but the damage was immediate. I watched something break behind his eyes. Ryan bringing her favorite coffee with oat milk while she's planning to destroy him? That detail feels too perfectly painful to be random. Makes me wonder if Luna specifically chose today knowing he'd do something sweet like that, making it harder for her sister to follow through. He asked me to talk privately, suggested we go outside, but Luna's script demanded public humiliation. I raised my voice, made sure everyone could hear when I said kissing him made me feel sick. That wasn't even creative, just cruel for cruelty's sake. His best friend stood up, told me to stop, that this wasn't funny, but I couldn't stop. Luna was recording everything, making sure I hit every required point. I had to call him pathetic, had to say I'd been laughing at him behind his back, had to list his vulnerabilities like they were jokes. The worst part was that Ryan didn't get angry. He just looked devastated, then concerned, like he thought something must be wrong with me to act this way. He asked if someone was making me do this, if I was in trouble. The question was so perceptive, so caring even while I was destroying him, that I almost broke character. Luna stood up then, started walking over. If I showed any weakness, she'd release those recordings right here, right now. So I delivered the final blow, told him he was delusional if he thought anyone could actually love him. The words tasted like poison. The cafeteria was completely silent now. Ryan's face had gone pale, his hands shaking slightly. He gathered his things slowly, dignified even in humiliation. Before he left, he looked me directly in the eyes and said quietly that he hoped whatever was really going on, I'd be okay. Then he walked out, his friend following after shooting me a disgusted look. The silence broke into whispers, then full conversations as everyone processed what they'd witnessed. Some people called me horrible names, others seemed impressed by the cruelty. I stood there feeling hollow, empty, like I'd carved out my own heart along with his. Luna appeared at my elbow, guiding me out of the cafeteria. In the hallway, she was practically glowing with satisfaction. She said I'd done perfectly, that Ryan's face was exactly what she'd wanted to see. She even hugged me, told me she was proud. I went to the bathroom and threw up again, this time bringing up nothing but bile. When I came out, Luna was waiting with my backpack. She said I could go home if I wanted, that I'd earned a rest, as if destroying someone was just another task to check off her list. The rest of the day blurred together. People stared, whispered, some even congratulated me for the savage breakup. Ryan didn't come back to school that afternoon. His friend found me after final period, told me Ryan had never hurt anyone, asked how I could be so cruel. I couldn't answer, just stood there taking his anger because I deserved it. When I got home, Dad's car was in the driveway. My heart rate spiked, but Luna met me at the door. She'd already talked to him, told him what a good sister I'd been lately, how helpful I was with her school project. He actually smiled at me at dinner, said he was proud I was being responsible. That night, Luna came to my room again. She had videos from multiple angles, students who'd filmed the whole thing. She saved them all to her folder, adding to her collection of evidence. Then she showed me something else, screenshots of Ryan's social media. He deleted all our photos, removed his relationship status, gone completely dark. She said this was just the beginning. Now that everyone had seen the breakup, I needed to maintain the character, date other people quickly, act like Ryan meant nothing, maybe even spread some rumors about why I really broke up with him. The performance had to continue or people would get suspicious. I asked her when it would be enough, when I could stop being her weapon. She tilted her head like the question confused her. This wasn't about enough. This was about family, about loyalty, about the protection she provided. As long as I needed her shield from our parents, I belonged to her. After she left, I sat in the dark thinking about Ryan's face, that moment when he realized I was serious. I thought about him alone somewhere, replaying every moment of our relationship, wondering what was real. The truth was everything had been real except today, but he'd never know that. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Ryan's friend again, saying Ryan wanted me to know he didn't hate me, that he hoped I found whatever I was looking for. Even destroyed, he was still kind. It would have been easier if he'd cursed me out, threatened me, shown any anger at all. Luna had won completely. She'd gotten her revenge for a 2-year-old rejection, proven she could make me do anything, and reinforced the chains that bound me to her. Tomorrow, I'd have to go back to school and continue the act, date someone new within the week to make it believable, become the cruel person everyone now thought I was. But lying there in the dark, I made myself a promise. Someday, somehow, I would find a way out from under Luna's control. I would find a way to tell Ryan the truth, even if he didn't believe me. I would find a way to stop being Luna's weapon. I just had no idea how. I spent the next morning staring at my ceiling, replaying Ryan's devastated face in my mind. The house was quiet, Dad having left early for work, Mom still asleep. Luna had already texted me 3 times with reminders about maintaining my new image at school. My phone vibrated again. This time it was Jonathan, one of Luna's targets from last year. He'd heard about my breakup with Ryan and wanted to know if I was okay. The irony made me sick. I'd destroyed his relationship with his girlfriend 6 months ago on Luna's orders, and here he was checking on me. I dragged myself out of bed and got ready for school. My reflection looked hollow, dark circles under my eyes from no sleep. Luna appeared in my doorway, already dressed perfectly, examining me like I was a project she needed to fix. She walked over and started adjusting my hair, selecting different clothes from my closet. She explained that I needed to look good but not devastated, confident but not heartless. The performance had to continue, and every detail mattered. At school, the whispers started immediately. People moved aside as I walked down the hall, some with disgust, others with a weird respect for what they saw as brutal honesty. I kept my face neutral, playing the part Luna had written for me. During first period, Nathan, a guy from my chemistry class, slid into the seat next to me. He mentioned hearing about my breakup, said he'd always thought Ryan was too soft for me anyway. The words made me want to scream, but I forced a smile and agreed. Luna had already started spreading the narrative. By second period, I heard 3 different versions of why I'd broken up with Ryan, each one painting him as pathetic in different ways. One story said he'd cried when I'd refused to meet his parents. Another claimed he'd written me terrible poetry. The lies spread like wildfire. At lunch, I sat with Luna and her friends. They peppered me with questions about Ryan, wanting details about his weaknesses, his embarrassing moments. Luna watched me carefully as I manufactured stories, making sure I stayed in character. Her friends laughed at each fabrication, and I felt pieces of my soul crumbling. After school, Luna informed me that Nathan had asked her if I was interested in him. She'd already said yes on my behalf. I had a date with him that Friday, just 4 days after destroying Ryan. The timeline was calculated to maximum effect, showing everyone how little Ryan had meant to me. That evening, I saw Ryan's best friend at the grocery store. He was with his mom, but when he spotted me, his face hardened. He walked over while his mom was checking produce, stood close enough that I could see the anger in his eyes. He told me Ryan hadn't eaten in 2 days, wasn't answering anyone's calls. Then he walked away without waiting for a response. Back home, Luna reviewed my performance like a director critiquing an actor. She said I'd done well but needed to commit more fully. She showed me texts from people at school, analyzing the social dynamics, planning the next moves. Everything was data to her. clever, patterns to manipulate. Dad came home hammered that night. I heard him downstairs, throwing things, yelling at Mom about something trivial. Luna and I sat in her room, waiting for it to pass. She held my hand, reminding me that she'd protected me from this for years. Without her, I'd be down there taking whatever rage he needed to unleash. The pattern was always the same. Dad would rage, Mom would cry, and eventually he'd pass out. Luna had learned early how to redirect his anger, how to make herself useful enough that he'd leave us alone most of the time. But that protection came with a price, and I was paying it every day. Thursday arrived with new challenges. Ryan returned to school, but he looked different. Thinner, paler, moving through the halls like a ghost. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge my existence. His friends formed a protective barrier around him, shooting me hateful glances whenever I passed. Luna decided this wasn't enough. She wanted me to escalate, to twist the knife deeper. She instructed me to walk past his locker with Nathan, to laugh loudly at something Nathan said, to make sure Ryan saw me happy and unbothered. The cruelty of it made me physically ill, but I did it anyway. The effect was immediate. Ryan's hands shook as he fumbled with his locker combination. His friend put a protective hand on his shoulder, guided him away. I wanted to run after him, to explain everything, but Luna was watching from down the hall, her phone ready to destroy us both. That afternoon, Luna showed me more recordings she'd made, not just of our conversations about Ryan, but of every cruel thing I'd done over the years, every relationship I'd sabotaged, every lie I'd told, every person I'd hurt on her orders. The folder was her insurance policy, ensuring I could never turn against her. She explained that she'd been planning this for years. Watching Ryan come back looking so different makes me wonder what goes through someone's mind during those 2 days alone. How does Luna calculate these exact moves, like making her walk past with Nathan, documenting everything, creating a library of evidence that painted me as a manipulative monster while keeping herself invisible? Even if I tried to expose her, who would believe me? I was the one on camera doing terrible things, laughing about people's pain. Friday's date with Nathan was another performance. Luna had dressed me, done my makeup, scripted conversation topics. Nathan was handsome enough, confident in that way guys are when they think they've won something. He spent the entire dinner talking about himself, occasionally mentioning how he'd always thought I was too good for Ryan. I smiled and nodded, played with my hair the way Luna had taught me, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. Other kids from school saw us together, took pictures that would circulate on social media. By the end of the night, everyone would know I'd moved on already. Nathan tried to kiss me when he dropped me off. I let him, feeling nothing but revulsion. He grinned like he'd accomplished something special, promised to text me later. I watched him drive away, then went inside to wash my mouth out, trying to erase the feeling. Luna was waiting in my room, eager for details. She analyzed every moment of the date, critiquing my performance, planning future strategies. She wanted me to date Nathan for exactly 3 weeks, then dump him in a way that would make me seem even more callous. It was all part of maintaining the image. The weekend brought unexpected complications. Mom found some of Dad's hidden alcohol and poured it down the sink. His rage was volcanic. Luna tried her usual tactics to redirect his anger, but this time he wasn't having it. He grabbed her by the hair, screamed in her face about respect and betrayal. I watched, frozen, as Luna took the verbal assault. She didn't cry, didn't flinch, just absorbed his rage like she'd done so many times before. When he finally let go, shoving her backward, she straightened her clothes and walked to her room with dignity intact. Later she sat on my bed, a bruise forming on her scalp where he'd gripped her hair. She reminded me that this was why we needed each other, why her protection was worth any price. She'd taken that rage so I didn't have to, and she'd keep taking it as long as I remained useful to her. Monday at school, I noticed something different about Ryan. He was talking to Victoria, a quiet girl from our English class. Not flirting, just talking. But it was the first time I'd seen him interact with anyone besides his close friends since our breakup. Luna noticed too. She immediately began planning. Victoria was shy, artistic, exactly the kind of girl who might help Ryan heal. Luna couldn't allow that. She instructed me to befriend Victoria, to find her vulnerabilities, to prepare for another destruction if necessary. The cycle was starting again, but something in me finally cracked. Watching Ryan slowly try to piece himself back together while I prepared to hurt someone else who might help him was too much. I found myself in the bathroom, dry heaving, my body rejecting what my mind was forcing it to do. Luna found me there, helped me clean up, fixed my makeup again. She seemed concerned, but not about me. She worried that I was losing my edge, becoming too emotional. She reminded me that emotions were just tools, weapons to use against others, not things to actually feel. That week, I went through the motions with Nathan while secretly watching Ryan and Victoria. They studied together in the library, shared quiet conversations between classes. She made him almost smile once, and the sight of it broke something inside me. Luna grew increasingly frustrated with my performance. I wasn't being cruel enough to Nathan, wasn't selling the image of the heartless girl who destroyed Ryan. She started micromanaging every interaction, every social media post, every facial expression. The control was suffocating. Thursday night, everything escalated. Dad discovered that some money was missing from his wallet, the same $20 I'd taken months ago that Luna had held over my head. But Luna had taken it this time, planted it in my room for him to find. When he confronted me, she stood behind him, her face a mask of concern. The beating was swift and brutal, not enough to leave visible marks for school, but enough to remind me of my place. Luna nursed my wounds afterward, apologizing for not being able to redirect his anger this time, but I saw the satisfaction in her eyes. This was punishment for my wavering commitment. Friday, I could barely move without pain, but I had to maintain the performance. Nathan noticed I was walking stiffly, made a joke about it that made me want to vomit. Luna had instructed me to be extra affectionate with him that day, to post pictures of us together, to really sell the relationship. During lunch, I watched Ryan and Victoria sitting together. She'd brought him homemade cookies, a simple gesture that seemed to brighten his entire day. He still looked thin, still carried sadness in his shoulders, but he was healing, without me. Luna saw me watching and her jaw tightened. She sent me a text reminding me that Victoria was now a target, that Ryan wasn't allowed to heal, wasn't allowed to move on. His punishment for rejecting her 2 years ago would continue indefinitely, and I was the weapon she'd use to enforce it. That afternoon, Luna cornered me in my room with a new plan. She wanted me to not just befriend Victoria, but to seduce her, to make her question her sexuality, fall for me, then publicly reject her in a way that would humiliate both her and Ryan. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. I tried to protest, but Luna pulled out her phone, showed me videos of that morning's beating. She'd recorded it all, edited it to remove the context, made it look like I'd stolen money and been caught. Another piece of evidence in her ever-growing collection. The weekend was a blur of preparation. Luna researched Victoria extensively, found her social media, her interests, her insecurities. She created a complete profile of how to destroy this quiet, kind girl whose only crime was making Ryan smile. But I also used the weekend to do my own research. While Luna planned Victoria's destruction, I searched for something, anything I could use against my sister. I went through old photo albums, social media from before she became so careful, looking for cracks in her perfect armor. Sunday night I found something, a single photo from 3 years ago, before Luna had perfected her manipulation techniques. She was crying, really crying, not the fake tears she used as weapons. The photo was from right after her first boyfriend Johnny had broken up with her. She deleted it from everywhere, but Mom had printed it and tucked it in an old album. It wasn't much, but it was real emotion, real vulnerability. Luna had been hurt once, before she decided to never be vulnerable again. I studied that photo, memorizing every detail of her genuine pain, filing it away for later use. Monday came with new demands. Luna wanted me to start the Victoria plan immediately. She'd written out conversation starters, identified Victoria's class schedule, even picked out clothes clothes that would appeal to her artistic sensibilities. Every detail was planned except for one thing. Luna hadn't counted on me learning from her. I approached Victoria as instructed, complimented her art, expressed interest in her poetry. She was shy but friendly, clearly surprised by the attention from someone with my new reputation. We talked about creative writing, about expression through art, and for a moment I forgot I was supposed to be destroying her. Luna watched from across the courtyard, nodding approval at my progress. But what she didn't see was how I'd subtly warned Victoria. While discussing poetry, I'd mentioned how some people use beautiful words to hide ugly intentions, how manipulation could be an art form itself. Victoria was smart. She understood. That night, Luna reviewed my performance again. She was pleased with the initial contact, but wanted me to escalate quickly. Time was running out before Ryan might actually heal, might actually move on. She couldn't allow that, would never allow that. As she planned and plotted, I thought about that photo of her crying, about the girl she'd been before she'd built these walls of manipulation and control. Somewhere under all the cruelty was a person who'd been hurt, who decided the only way to never be hurt again was to hurt others first. But understanding her didn't excuse her. It didn't undo the pain she'd caused through me, the lives she'd ruined for petty revenge, and it didn't change the fact that I was still trapped, still being used as her personal weapon against anyone who dared to cross her. Tuesday brought an unexpected development. Ryan approached me for the first time since the breakup. Not to reconcile, not to yell, just to return a book I'd left in his car. He handed it to me without meeting my eyes, started to walk away, then stopped. He turned back and asked me one question. Was I okay? Not was I happy, not did I regret anything, just was I okay? The genuine concern in his voice after everything I'd done to him nearly broke me. I managed to nod, and he walked away without another word. Luna had seen the interaction and was furious. How dare he show concern? How dare he make me seem like the victim? She ranted about his manipulation, his attempt to make himself look noble. But I knew the truth. Ryan was just being Ryan, kind even when he had every reason not to be. That night, Luna's paranoia reached new heights. She installed more tracking software on my devices, demanded hourly updates on the Victoria situation, started planning contingencies for every possible scenario. The control was tightening like a noose, but I was learning too. Every manipulation tactic she used, every psychological trick, I absorbed and filed away. She'd trained me too well, created a weapon that might one day turn against her. Victoria being smart enough to pick up on those hints makes me wonder if Luna's really thought through every angle here. Seems like she's so focused on control that she might be missing how people are starting to see through things. I just needed to find the right moment, the right leverage. Wednesday's interaction with Victoria was more complex. She'd clearly thought about our conversation, picked up on my warning. She was friendly but cautious, interested but not naive. Luna would be harder to satisfy with this progress. During our conversation, Victoria mentioned that Ryan had told her about me. Not the cruel things I'd said, not the public humiliation, but about who I'd been before. He told her I was brilliant, creative, that something must have happened to make me act so out of character. Even now, he was trying to understand rather than hate. That afternoon, I made a decision. I couldn't warn Victoria directly without Luna knowing, but I could sabotage my own mission. I became too eager, too intense, exactly the kind of red flags that would make any smart person suspicious. Victoria picked up on it immediately, politely distanced herself. Luna was frustrated but not suspicious. She blamed my technique, said I was losing my touch. She spent hours retraining me, going over manipulation tactics, practicing scenarios. All the while, I pretended to struggle, to need her guidance, playing into her need for control. Thursday brought another family crisis. Dad had been passed over for a promotion at work, and his rage needed an outlet. Luna tried to redirect it toward Mom, but I stepped in. For the first time in years, I voluntarily drew his attention, made myself the target. The beating was harsh, but I took it without crying. Luna watched in shock as I absorbed Dad's rage the way she usually did. When it was over, when he'd stomped off to drink more, she helped me to my room in silence. She was rattled. I'd upset the balance, shown that I could protect myself if needed. Her main hold over me had always been protection from our parents, but if I could take the beatings myself, what did I need her for? She spent the rest of the night reminding me of all the evidence she had, all the ways she could destroy me, but I saw fear in her eyes for the first time. Just a flicker, quickly hidden, but there. She was realizing that her weapon was becoming autonomous, that the sister she'd trained to destroy others might be learning too well. Friday, Luna announced a new plan. Forget Victoria, forget subtle manipulation. She wanted me to publicly humiliate Ryan again, to deliver another blow while he was still recovering. She'd written another script, planned another scene, prepared another performance. I took the script, memorized the words, prepared to play my part, but I was also preparing something else. In my room, hidden where Luna would never think to look, I'd started keeping my own records, not of her manipulation. She was too careful for that, but of her reactions, her fears, her moments of genuine emotion. The photo of her crying had given me an idea. Luna's power came from her invulnerability, her perfect control, but everyone had cracks. Everyone had moments of weakness. I just had to find hers and document them the way she documented mine. As I prepared for another performance, another destruction of someone I loved, I held on to one thought. Luna had taught me to be a weapon, trained me to find and exploit weaknesses. She'd created the perfect tool for destroying others. She just hadn't considered that one day, that tool might turn on its creator. The stage was set for Friday's performance. Luna had chosen the school assembly, maximum audience for maximum impact. She wanted me to stand up during announcements and deliver a speech about how dating Ryan had been a charity case, how I'd felt sorry for him but couldn't pretend anymore. But as I sat in that auditorium, script memorized, Luna watching from across the room, I thought about that photo of her crying, about the girl she'd been before she'd become this monster. And I wondered if maybe, just maybe, I'd found the crack in her armor I'd been looking for. The principal began announcements. My moment was approaching. Luna caught my eye, nodded for me to prepare. But for the first time since this all began, I had my own plan. The weapon she'd created was about to malfunction in ways she'd never imagined. I stood up as instructed, walked to the front as planned. The auditorium fell silent, everyone eager for more drama. Ryan was sitting with his friends, carefully not looking at me. Victoria was there too, watching with knowing eyes. And Luna sat forward, ready to witness another perfect destruction. But I didn't deliver her script. Instead, I began to speak my own words, words that would either free me or destroy me completely. The game Luna had been playing was about to change, and she had no idea it was coming. I stood at the front of that auditorium, hundreds of eyes on me, Luna's script forgotten, my mouth opened, but instead of her cruel words, I announced that I'd lost my voice from a cold. The principal looked confused but nodded, gesturing for me to sit back down. Luna's face went rigid. I could see her fingers flying across her phone screen as I walked back to my seat. My own phone buzzed immediately with threats, reminders of the evidence she held, but I'd bought myself time, even if only a few hours. After assembly, Luna cornered me in an empty classroom. Her calm facade cracked as she grabbed my shoulders, shaking me. She reminded me that Dad would be home tonight, that she had recordings of every terrible thing I'd done, that I just made everything worse for myself. I nodded, apologized, promised to make it up to her. She studied my face, searching for deception, but I'd learned from the best. My expression showed only remorse and fear. Finally, she released me with instructions to meet her after school to plan damage control. During lunch, I watched Ryan and Victoria from across the cafeteria. They were sharing a book, heads bent together over the pages. The sight strengthened my resolve. Luna couldn't have this anymore, couldn't keep destroying people through me. Nathan found me after school, confused about why I'd been avoiding him all day. I told him I wasn't feeling well, needed to go home. He tried to insist on driving me, but I slipped away before he could press further. Luna was waiting by my locker, her expression unreadable. The drive home was silent. Luna's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, her jaw clenched. I knew she was planning something, some new punishment to ensure my compliance. But I was planning too, running through everything I'd learned about her over the years. At home, Luna sent me to my room while she prepared for Dad's return. I could hear her downstairs, hiding his alcohol, preparing dinner exactly how he liked it, doing all the things that might keep him calm, but I knew it wouldn't matter. She'd make sure he found out about something I'd done, real or invented. I pulled out the photo of Luna crying, studying it again. Then I remembered something else, her laptop password. She'd typed it in front of me hundreds of times, never thinking I was paying attention, but I'd learned to notice everything, just like she taught me. When Luna went to shower, I slipped into her room. Her laptop sat open on her desk, logged out but waiting. My hands trembled as I typed in the password. It worked. I was in. The folder of evidence against me was exactly where she'd shown me, but there were other folders too, dozens of them, labeled with names I recognized. All her victims over the years, all the people she'd destroyed through me or others, but one folder caught my eye. Insurance. Inside were recordings of our parents. Hours of audio files documenting Dad's abuse, Mom's neglect, things that would destroy their reputations if released. But more importantly, there were recordings of Luna too. Conversations where she'd slipped up, admitted to orchestrating things, revealed her true nature. I heard the shower turn off. Quickly, I copied everything onto a flash drive I'd hidden in my pocket, then closed the laptop and hurried back to my room. My heart pounded as Luna's footsteps passed my door. Dinner was tense. Dad came home in a relatively good mood, but Luna kept shooting me meaningful looks. She was building up to something, I could tell. Sure enough, as we cleared the dishes, she mentioned casually that she'd seen me in her room earlier. Dad's mood shifted instantly. He demanded to know what I'd been doing, what I'd taken. I denied it, but Luna produced a necklace from her pocket, claimed I'd stolen it. It was a lie, but Dad didn't care about truth when he was angry. The beating started in the kitchen, but this time, something was different. I'd taken beatings before, learned to disconnect from my body when necessary, but now I fought back. Not physically, that would only make it worse. Instead, I used what Luna had taught me. I started crying, not from pain, but performing. Between sobs, I told Dad about the recordings Luna had of him, how she'd been documenting his abuse for years. His fist paused mid-swing. Luna's face went pale as I continued, describing the folder labeled insurance, the hours of audio that could ruin him. Dad turned to Luna slowly. She tried to deny it, but I'd learned her tells. The slight twitch of her left eye when she lied, the way her voice pitched higher. Dad saw it too. For the first time in my life, his rage turned away from me and toward her. Luna tried to run, but Dad grabbed her arm, not to hit her. He never hit her the way he hit me. Instead, he demanded her laptop, her phone, access to everything. Luna looked at me with pure hatred as she complied, knowing I'd outmaneuvered her. While Dad went through Luna's devices, discovering years of recordings and evidence, I slipped out of the house. I had the flash drive, copies of everything, but more importantly, I had freedom. Luna's power had always come from her evidence, her threats. Now Dad would destroy all of it in his rage at being recorded. I walked to Ryan's house, my body aching from the beating, but my mind clear. How did she remember Luna's password after seeing it typed so many times? The way she turned Luna's own training against her is incredible. Using those crying techniques to manipulate their dad into discovering the recordings was so clever. His mother answered the door, her face hardening when she saw me, but I asked for just 5 minutes. Promised I'd leave if Ryan didn't want to see me. Ryan appeared in the doorway, thinner than before, but still kind-eyed. I didn't speak, just handed him the flash drive. I'd added a file explaining everything. Luna's manipulation, the threats, the recordings, evidence of every cruel thing she'd made me do, including to him. He took the drive without a word, and I turned to leave. I didn't expect forgiveness, didn't deserve it, but at least he'd know the truth. As I walked away, I heard his door close softly behind me. I spent that night at the park, sleeping on a bench. My phone buzzed constantly with calls from Luna, from my parents, but I ignored them all. In the morning, I went to school early, before anyone else arrived. Victoria was in the art room, working on a painting. She looked up when I entered, wary but not afraid. I apologized for trying to manipulate her, explained about Luna without expecting understanding. She listened quietly, then returned to her painting, but she didn't ask me to leave. Throughout the day, I noticed changes. People still whispered, but some looked confused rather than disgusted. Ryan's friend passed me in the hall without the usual glare. Something was shifting, though I didn't understand what yet. After school, Nathan confronted me. He'd heard rumors that I'd been forced to date him, wanted to know if it was true. I confirmed it, apologized for using him. He stormed off, hurt and angry, but it was better than continuing the lie. I couldn't go home, but I had nowhere else to go. I sat in the library until it closed, then wandered the streets. Around midnight, my phone rang. Not Luna or my parents, but an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Ryan's mother. She spoke carefully, said Ryan had shown her the files on the flash drive. She offered me their guest room, just for a few nights while I figured things out. No strings, no expectations, just a safe place to sleep. I accepted, too exhausted to be proud. Ryan wasn't there when I arrived. His mother explained he was staying with his father for a few days. She showed me to the guest room, left water and some of her daughter's old clothes on the bed. Over the next few days, I learned what had happened. Ryan had taken the evidence to the school counselor, who'd involved social services. Luna's recordings of our parents had backfired spectacularly. The authorities were investigating, and Luna's carefully constructed world was crumbling. I stayed out of it, focusing on survival. Ryan's mother helped me get a part-time job at a local cafe, enough to start saving for my own place. I saw Luna once, at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, her perfect facade cracked. We didn't speak. Weeks passed. I found a tiny studio apartment, barely affordable but mine. Ryan and I crossed paths occasionally, but didn't talk beyond polite nods. Victoria started saying hello in the halls. Nathan ignored me completely. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was progress. One evening, I found an envelope under my door. Inside was a letter from Ryan. Not forgiveness, he wrote, but understanding. He believed the evidence, understood the impossible position I'd been in. He hoped I was finding peace. I kept the letter, but didn't respond. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt, and that was okay. I was learning to live with the consequences of my actions, even those forced upon me. Luna tried to contact me once more. A long email about family loyalty and betrayal. I deleted it unread. Whatever hold she'd had over me was broken. She had no evidence, no threats, no power. Just her own crumbling life to manage. Months later, I heard our parents had separated. Dad's drinking had worsened after losing control over us. Mom had finally left, moving in with her sister. Luna lived alone in the family house, isolated by her own reputation. I focused on building something new. The cafe job led to a management position. I started taking online classes. I made one friend, then two. People who knew nothing about my past. It wasn't much, but it was honest. Sometimes I'd see Ryan around town. He was healing too, had started dating someone new. Not Victoria, but another girl who made him smile. The sight hurt, but it also brought relief. He was okay. That mattered more than my own regrets. The girl I'd been, Luna's weapon, felt like a stranger now. I'd done terrible things, hurt people who didn't deserve it, but I'd also survived, broken free, built something small but real from the wreckage. Late at night, I sometimes thought about Luna, wondered if she ever looked at that old photo of herself crying, remembered who she'd been before she'd built her walls of manipulation. But mostly, I focused on tomorrow, on work, on classes, on the quiet life I was building one day at a time. It wasn't redemption, it wasn't a happy ending, but it was mine, and that was enough, right? It kind of stops you in your tracks. Ryan's mom had every reason to turn away, and instead she opened the door, literally and emotionally. Makes you wonder what she saw in that moment. moment? Empathy? Guilt? Hope? Maybe all three. Whatever it was, it shifted something. Subscribe for more content like this.